Starting with the comparison to the normal Sybaris, which I have equipped to the Sybaris Prime, you can see it has lost a bit of accuracy in favour of an extra, if we're brutally honest, 2.9 damage, 5.9 damage. And where'd 2.9 come from? I wonder. But it's an extra 5.9 damage on impact and puncture and 6.1 on slash. It's increased damage either way. It's got an extra 15% status, an extra 5% crit chance, it's got a higher fire rate, twice the magazine. This, on paper, looks like it's a really good weapon. Until you remember that the Dex Cybus is a thing, which I now have equipped. It does 5% more crit. The fire rate is slower, the magazine is 6 rounds smaller, the status is 15% lower, the impact and puncture is lower, the puncture is overall 11 lower, and the slash is a little bit higher, but not really by much. So the Dex Cybus is a thing, it exists. If you're going for straight up crit, that is probably better, but because this thing does more damage, has a higher fire rate, kind of counters it. Plus it's only 5% crit difference between the two anyway. Hopefully it's got at least 2 polarities on it. It's got 3, a V and 2 dashes. And of course the relics for this, the Axi B2, I forgot which one it was for a second there, has of course the blueprint, and it's actually a normal drop. As is the stock over on the Lith N3 relic. But that's pretty much where it ends, because the barrel is a rare drop on the Meso S5, then it goes to an uncommon drop with its receiver over on the Neo N6 relic. Weirdly, over time, the Sybaris has kind of evolved. The original one was okay, but I never really been a fan of the burst fire weapons. The Dex Cybus was, how to put it, much better. I actually ended up putting 6 forma into that. I only put 2 into the original one, and weirdly again, I've only actually put 2 into this one. Even though this technically does more damage, that 5% loss in crit is pretty meaningless. It's just the fact that this came with as many polarities as it did. I mean, coming with 2 dashes and a V, there was no real need to go past 2. You could, in theory, put a 3rd one in there, but that means this thing's going to have 5 polarity slots on it. It's not really overkill, it depends on what kind of build you actually put on it. I personally only put 2 Vs on for split chamber, and I needed the other V to be able to fit bladed rounds in, because with Argon Scope, Point Strike, Vital Sense, Serration, I've got Stormbringer and Infested Clip-on for corrosive. After that, it's just kind of not that bad of a weapon. You can, of course, put some of the 120% mods in. Which one is it? Fanged Fusillade. And it would take the 150 that this had up to, I think it went 331, which isn't really that bad damage-wise, but you would have to sacrifice some of the crit for it. But with Argon Scope and bladed rounds on there, I guess Pointed Strike, or no, Pointed Strike wouldn't really be that useful. The big downside is bladed rounds only kicks in once you've actually killed something. Once you have, the weapon just behaves way differently and does so much more damage after that. After taking it into the sortie and realising unless you can land those headshots and you have to get the kill to kick bladed rounds in, once all of that's done, this was a fun alternative to fully auto weapons or shotguns or sniper rifles. I do wish it had a little bit more aim, but it turned out to be fairly effective. The biggest problem that I had with this solely came down to the visuals, and that would just be getting really petty about the fact that the gold parts come up way too high and it just looks kind of weird. If you can ignore that, it actually turned out to be a decent weapon that's not that hard to get a hold of, considering 2 of its parts are common drops. I was doing a mission with some clanmates, and this is basically when my mind got turned around as to this actually turned out to be a decent weapon to it's just another failed attempt at making a burst weapon good. When the Stalker came in and I'd actually just formatted it, it had nothing but the elemental stuff, Point Strike, Vital Sense and Serration on there, and the Stalker came in and it took him down fairly effectively, and I was actually quite amazed on how well it did it. I mean, obviously the other people I was playing with also were shooting at him, but I thought this would have been harder to aim, and I'm glad that in the I nearly said 16 again, the 20.6.3 hotfix fixed when firing from the hip it shot sideways. It wasn't really that noticeable until they pointed it out. But this thing was worth the farm. Okay, it's 10 Orokin cells to build. It takes 12 hours, but it's still worth it because it turned out to be a fairly fun weapon to use. Anyway, we'll leave this off here for now. Thanks for watching. A clan member just showed me this, and I'll catch yous next time.